Welcome everyone to OSRPG Presents a Blades in the Dark story, episode 15. We are very excited to bring you this episode, and I'm just going to get this rolling right out here and go to introductions. Why don't you just take it away?
Hi, my name's Angela, also known as Gangrel Kitty, and tonight I will be playing Reaper.
Hello, I'm Ryan, otherwise known as Thy Voice Released, and I will be playing Martin MacCalister for you tonight.
I'm Doug. I'm going to be playing Ezra Arkady, otherwise known as Blinder.
And I am Xylus, and I'll be playing Carver.
And of course, I'm Michael, the storyteller here, and thank you so much for joining us for tonight's episode. So just right out, we're going to go quick to our sort of shameless plug here. If you have not already done it, please head over to our YouTube, or if you're watching this video later on YouTube, please hit the like button, ding the bell, and hit that subscribe button. Right now, we're trying to get to 100 subscribers. We've just hit the halfway point, so I believe we're at like 49 or 50 or maybe even 51 at this point. I can't exactly remember off the top of my head, but we have just passed that threshold, and we are trying to get to 100 subscribers so that we can get our custom URL. So every subscription matters, and we appreciate it so much. So with all those things out of the way, let's tell a Blades in the Dark story. Last week in episode 14, our cast of characters had engaged in moving towards paying back the debt that they owed to a group of individuals from the district of Crowsfoot, known as the Billhooks. They had discussed the deal with Corin, and Corin had asked them to seek out another gang, one based out of the night market, a place called Bliss Lane. Our cast of characters, realizing that it was very important that they find the information, Blinder specifically having had a connection to the specific individual the information was about, was able to form how important this was to Corin. As they took the information moving forward, there was a lot on all of their minds. Blinder still needed to meet with his contact known as Flint in order to discuss the strange symbol on his hand. Carver was still reeling from his experience with Connor. Reaper was still trying to remember exactly what had taken place with Mercy the night before, in a haze of alcohol, drugs, and partying. And Martin was still trying to find out why all of these things, the watch, Strangford, and his missing cousin, had happened to him. With all of these things heavy on their minds, as they had been for weeks, our cast of characters continued moving forward. They found themselves in the night market, in Bliss Lane. They started investigating, asking around, Bliss Lane is a very nice neighborhood, much nicer than many of the other neighborhoods our cast of characters had ever really interacted with recently. It was a place of the wealthy elite. Stores are expensive. There is a dress code, in a sense. And very quickly they realized that they would not be able to fit in as well as they might have thought previously. In time, though, they gained information. They realized there was connections between different things. Martin found a room that he watched people walk into and disappear. Reaper had conversation reinforcing the fact that there was the Wraiths in this area, that they blackmailed some person. They stole jewelry from them. Blinder realized there was some sort of code going on between 3 different shops that were set in a triangle formation in this neighborhood. And Carver, as well, was able to find a missing element. An underground catacombs, perhaps. A tunnel system. The crew is not quite sure. As they investigated these places, asking around, engaging in meals, and of course asking for a side of informant, as they had decided, they weren't able to find the people they were looking for. And in time, after moving through those 3 shops, Martin led them to the 4th place, a place without lanterns, a clothing store. He led them to the back room that he saw people disappear from, perhaps going into whatever underground catacombs might exist. Our crew stepped inside, closing the door behind them, and waited there for a half an hour or so. And then, after nothing happened, they left the room, thinking that perhaps no one cared. They opened the door and walked out into an empty store, the doors shut, the curtains drawn, everything locked down, the lanterns extinguished. Nothing but the pale moonlight of the dimmer sisters floating down through the skylight above them. And in that darkness, they saw 5 silhouettes moving and coming towards them. We will return to that moment. One of them, as I explained before, these masked individuals wearing very athletic, sturdy-looking clothing, as though they could quickly run a marathon if they needed to, their weapons strapped in tight, speaking from behind a mask that hides all of their facial features. They heard a voice say, "We heard you were looking for us." And that is when Reaper offered them pastries. Reaper holding a pastry in their hand, there is a palpable moment of silence. Their masks set in a dramatic fashion like theater masks. Some of them frowns, some of them smiles, some of them scowls, looking at all of you hauntingly. They stare with these frozen expressions. And then one of them starts to laugh. It's slow at first. And then the rest of them start to chuckle too. There's this unease in the laugh while all of you are waiting, not knowing what next is going to happen. The 5 of them laugh, chuckle, looking towards each other from the small slits in their masks where they can see one another. What do you do?
Like a pastry?
So you say it again?
Yeah.
Okay. They start laughing more intensely. And one of them sort of pointing at the pastry like, what is going on?
I'm gonna eat the pastry. So, are we in a safe place to talk, or is there a more appropriate space for us?
One of them starts to cough and be like, and then they all start to shake away the laughter, taking more stoic poses. Obviously, this air of seriousness had been completely broken. And without speaking, they point back towards the door. We'll say that, actually, let me ask, who would be the furthest in the back of the group? Because you saw this as you all had exited the room. So who would be in the very back of the crew? Blinder? Okay. Blinder, as you see this person motion their hand towards you, you hear the creaking of stone sliding. And as you glance behind you, you see an opening in the wall. Slide open a few feet.
Blender's gonna turn around and look in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
Do I see anybody? Does Blender see anybody? Like, okay. So,
You see a passageway beyond, lit faintly by lantern light. And it seems like it descends down because you can see the ceiling is high, but then you lose it as a corner sort of falls out of sight.
I'll reach back look back at my companions and maybe Cutter is one behind me and,
In front of
touch
you, we'll
his
say,
shoulder.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Carver, in that moment that the man gestures forward, or the person gestures forward, you hear that gruffer voice beforehand. You then feel a few moments later, Blinder reach his hand out to touch your shoulder from the doorway.
I look over to Blinder.
Look, well, I don't certainly want to be the one that goes first.
Reaper Martin, now are aware that Carver and Blinder are having a conversation behind them.
I'm going to turn around and go through the door after sighing heavily.
Well, Reaper isn't aware of the door quite yet because you're.
okay.
I presume you're much further in the front. So you
Okay.
turn around to engage them in conversation. We'll say, perhaps peeking past them, and then you will discover the door. What is Martin doing in that moment?
Martin, excuse me. Martin is he's gonna kind of look between everybody, and then make his way over toward Blinder and Carver.
So Martin turns around to see what's going on behind him.
Yeah.
Okay. Carver, you had something.
So as they've motioned, obviously pointing behind us, and with Blinder pointing in the direction of this space, Carver will assume and start to move past, so the Blinder doesn't have to go first.
Sure. So Carver slips past Blinder. For any of you that look back, as your attention turns back to the door, back to Blinder, back to the conversation, for any of you that now glance back to the 5 individuals, they're gone. Disappeared. Nowhere in sight. And they're not shapes in the shadow, they simply seem to have vanished in some way. Blinder.
That's not terrifying. Once he sees that they're gone, you know what I mean? Because he'll look back at Reaper and be like, "But that's very terrifying." Mr. Martin.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I knew they could turn invisible.
Sure.
No, it was a comment I made a little while ago.
Well,
Do you want me to go next?
Yes.
Martin will walk over and follow Carver.
And then Blinder will take his place after Martin, and you should guard the rear.
You can hear Reaper giggling quietly.
So as the four of you enter into this tunnel system, stepping down the stairs, you realize the stairs are very well crafted, as though they may have even been part of the original building plan. In the hideaway back home, it seems like it was something that was later added, as though the space was dug out and then stone was added in order to create it. But this seems like something that's been here for some time. The architecture is reminiscent of old architecture. The lanterns hang in specific points, as though those points were made for the lanterns. And as you find your way down this old staircase of stone, you eventually arrive in a large antechamber. There is another stairway, much wider than the tunnel that you had walked down, sprawling out in front of you in a 180-degree section, going down to a lower area. There's a great sort of wall, in a sense, that goes up, and you can see a balcony beset by stone ramparts across it. The great columns that hold this space up have lights behind them, illuminating that there is more space behind the place, but you can't quite see a stairway or any way leading up to that specific rampart section. In the stone, there are large, what looks like carved in stone demon heads, flowing water out of them into pools that run past on either side of you, cutting into sections of the stairway and disappearing off out of sight into darkness of tunnels. You see two great paths, and then they narrow down into hallways, one to your left, one to your right. But you see no one else here.
Did you say there's any seating areas around here or anything?
No, there are no seats. There's simply a large antechamber that falls into a stairway, eventually coming right up to an edge of water, as though it's some sort of bathing place or old bathhouse or something of that variety.
I'm gonna look at the crew. So I think our next move is to get naked and bathe.
I think
I'm gonna sit down on the stairs. Look up over at Blinder. I don't want to go first.
I think that we should probably get to business. Humor will only get us so far in the situation. Good Reaper, I commend you on your ability to break the ice, and it seems to. But these individuals will want to know that we're here.
Well, we're gonna tell them as soon as we can find them.
In that moment, you hear a voice echo through the antechamber, reverb bouncing it in every direction. Who are you?
The Risen.
I have heard that name.
We came here for information.
What information?
I forgot the lady's name.
Geneva Burke.
We're looking
Magistrate.
for information for a certain person. And we're willing to pay for this information.
You set your target quite high. Why?
I don't know what that means.
We're a new crew.
Why go after someone so powerful?
What better way to make a name for ourselves?
Is your reputation so important to you that you would die?
Justice is more important.
What justice will be done?
Maybe answer a few of our questions as to our own personal struggle.
What are your questions?
You said Geneva Burke, right, Ryan? We are looking for Geneva Burke's information. Any information you can give us?
What would you do with the information?
Chew it over, maybe hand it over to somebody else that needed it.
Why would we sell something to you that you would then sell for double the price, when we instead could just ask for such a price?
Because it's not a price, it's payback.
Who are you paying back?
I like to keep my employer's secret sometimes.
A payment must be given. Will your payment be silver or words? That's your choice.
Well, if you're looking for word payment, I'll look over at Blinder. He's very handy with words.
I am literate.
A literate man would know what I meant.
Well, forgive me. So you wish to know, have information in trade. Is that my understanding of the situation, or
Information
silver?
or silver is the price, the voice says, echoing.
I see.
I'm gonna lean over and whisper to Blinder. I don't think we have information that we can give out yet. I think we're better paying off silver.
I think there's information.
Okay, go for it.
I believe I have some information that may be of use to you. Are you familiar with the name Skurlock?
Yes.
And what do you know? Do you know much about Mr. Lord Skurlock?
To ask such questions is to welcome death, friend.
I understand that. You ask why we would set our sights so high. Surely, at some point, your organization was small. But the difference between your organization and our organization, other than, of course, your chosen industry, is we need to grow much, much larger for our own security, as much for our own ambitions. So yes, we are asking for information for a powerful individual, or about a powerful individual. But we are doing so in hopes to trade a more lengthy security and to secure a relationship that will help protect us going forward. So yes, I would be willing to trade you what I know. About Lord Skurlock. Even if you were not to use this information, which is understandable and wise, you would undoubtedly find it perhaps valuable, but I do not know whether or not it would add to your already existing knowledge. If you have any. One condition, though. That the information is traded discreetly between me and you.
One cannot get information expecting it to not be sold. What else would we do with it?
I don't know. But you're all right if you were to sell the information. Presumably that's what you would do with it.
Something to think on while you wait. There is one that has a head without an eye, and there's one that has an eye without a head. You may find the answer if you try, and when all is said, half the answer hangs upon a thread.
I would like a steady roll.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you could repeat it so I could write it down. Or if you have it written down somewhere.
Well, at this point, I'm not going to repeat it because it is part of this mission, in a sense. It is a challenge, mental challenge of sorts. So you're welcome to roll, or if you believe you may have heard it correctly enough to try and solve it, you're welcome to perhaps retort. But if you'd also like to do a challenge roll to try and figure out what was said, or that is totally fine. I would also accept that if you would like to do a challenge roll or something like that so that I do repeat it, I would definitely accept that. Basically, like, you're going over it in your head, trying to remember exactly what was said during it. Okay, so we'll just... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, can I use survey?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, sure. As
I got
said
a 5.
before, 5, mixed success. Okay. Martin, did you want to do a roll?
I would.
Okay. While he's rolling, I'll move to Blinder. Blinder?
Yes, I would like to use my study. To basically, as I said, as soon as they start speaking and recognizably as in a parable, or I'm gonna basically start memorizing it, right? Yeah,
Sure.
repeating it back to
Would
myself.
Martin or Blinder like to assist the other, perhaps, instead of both rolling? Or did you guys have individual perspectives or things? Because it sounds like Martin is just trying to remember it, whereas Blinder is repeating it out loud. So it makes sense that Martin might perhaps be assisting Blinder or vice versa.
Well, I can help. I'm willing to assist Blinder.
Okay, perfect.
In remembering that thing.
So then don't even worry about rolling, Martin. Just spend 1 stress, and Blinder will get to add 1 die to their roll. And then while he's getting that roll going, Carver, did you want to do anything?
Mm,
If you're thinking on it, that's fine. I can come back to you. So I'll move
no,
back.
yeah, no.
Okay, that's fine. So moving back to Blinder, what did you roll?
A 2, 4, and a 6.
Okay, a full success with the assistance of Blinder. Or sorry, with the assistance of Martin. My apologies.
And that was 1 die that I added to that test. So it was my study of 2 plus my 1 die.
Yeah, so it should be. Well, you get +1 die from Martin, yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so you wanted me to repeat it, yes? And then you can do further study upon it if need be. What was said was, there is one that has a head without an eye. And there's one that has an eye without a head. You may find the answer if you try, and when all is said, half the answer hangs upon a thread.
There is one with a head without an eye, and one without an eye without a head. When you could find the answer if you try. Answer lays on the thread, or the answer lays on a thread.
Half the answer hangs thread.
For some reason, whenever I'm trying to write this down, it just doesn't.
So, a quick check-in here. Would you guys like to do another challenge to try and solve it, or would you like to, as players, attempt to try and solve this riddle? And I'm comfortable with both. You guys, if you have an idea, you're welcome to try and solve it, and then you can do a challenge afterwards if it's not the correct solution, or the case may be. Carver, you had something.
Is anyone going to attempt to take the challenge to try and solve it?
That is a very good question. So Reaper is planning to roll. Martin, would you be trying to roll? Oh, and also keep in mind, if you've ever heard this riddle before, keep it to yourself. Especially if you don't feel like it's something your character would know. So if that's what's going on with you, Xylus, if you already know the answer to this riddle in real life, then, perhaps let the others sort of
well, that's what I was going to say. If they don't get it, I would like to have an interaction after their roll.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I just want to quickly clarify, just for the sake of Michael. Do you know the answer? Or did you previously heard this riddle, or did you figure out the answer?
I have heard this riddle
once
before.
Okay, then
or
definitely
an iteration of it.
Okay, then definitely we'll wait on that then. If you had solved it right now, I was gonna say, oh, you could totally do that. Anyways, back to Reaper. What's up?
I think that maybe I shouldn't be the one to roll because I don't have the only thing I have is hunt.
You can always assist even if you don't have the skill.
Okay.
Unless it's something that just makes absolutely no sense for you to assist with, like it's something your character would, for example, like the attune skill. Like your character's never attuned, so assisting with attune may not make sense. But yeah, okay. So we'll move back to Blinder then.
I'm trying to debate whether or not I can try to answer this. I'm really bad at riddles out of character. But first, like looking over the room, right? Blinder's gonna study the objects in the room again, just once over, because he was like noticing as he went into the room, but he was more focused on looking for danger. Now he's just like, okay, they're trying to test us in some way. So does the room look like it has the objects in it? Do they look out of place with the architectural design? Do they look like they're they would be clues in a puzzle. I don't know how to frame it other than that. He's just
Would
going to kind
you-
of study the room. He's going to kind of
Sure.
study the room.
Go ahead and do a roll.
I'll go ahead and do survey this time because I'm just looking around. He doesn't really know what he's looking for. And I rolled a 1. So he's completely lost. He's just like, oh, look,
Yeah, so just
Squirrel.
it's
squirrel.
yeah. And then Reaper had also done a survey roll, yes? Oh, okay. I couldn't remember if you decided to do another roll or not.
I can or I can assist. I only have survey of 1. So
It doesn't
can-
matter what level skill you have. You're always welcome to challenge,
Okay.
even if it's something you're unskilled with.
I got a 4.
Okay, mixed success. You notice Blinder is looking around. And for a moment, you, Reaper, believe you see a small glint of light at the very edge of the stairway as it almost touches the pool of water that's set out underneath this rampart in front of you and then runs past you into tunnelways that disappear.
I'm gonna nudge the closest person to me and I'm gonna point to it.
We'll say it's Blinder. Why not?
Oh yeah, I whispered to him earlier.
Take a look. Interesting. He'll more closely observe.
He walks over,
Zoom.
and on the cobblestone set almost to the very edge, there is a pen and a needle set crossways, hidden in sort of a little crack between the cobblestone.
Pin and a needle. Could look this way and that way. Do I see any faces or heads without eyes or eyes without heads? No? Okay. He'll try to move it. Maybe pick it
You
up.
can pick them up, yeah.
Just nothing happens or okay. Well, we got a needle. Half of the answer lies on a thread. Right? Or the answer lies on half a thread. One of the two.
You hear the
Well,
voice again. You found the answer, but you're not sure what it means still. Perhaps if I give you the information, it would be the same.
Perhaps. I'm a little confused. I was not expecting enigmas. Although I probably should have, considering your trade.
I thought I would test you. You discovered our lanterns. Perhaps you
I
had a
did.
mind for riddles.
Yeah, well. I do fancy the odd parable. An odd enigma puzzle, but I just was not expecting it. Yes. I believe if we could cut to much more efficient exchange. Although this has been quite enjoyable.
You're not in a place to dictate terms. You have nothing I want, but I have something that you want. As I said, I'm not interested in anything about Scurlock. To dive down that rabbit hole would mean certain death for me. And the rest.
Well, we have come into information about matters much more mundane situation, I'm sure. participating in or happening in night market, but I'm pretty sure you would already be aware of such things, and it probably would not be an equitable exchange. So I think we should probably what would be your required compensation monetarily?
Body or soul?
Body.
There are 4 of you. I expect 4 answers.
Soul?
Soul.
Body.
The vote must swing one direction. Choose. Who will change their mind?
I'll change my mind to body.
No. I'll cast a vote. Soul. And in that, you see a form appear silhouetted from behind one of the pillars, holding a jar, and then she pushes it off the edge. It falls down, tumbling in front of you, the lid falling off, and as it does, a massive plume of smoke spreads out from it immediately. A fog besets the room, and then that fog evaporates in a moment, and there is a shape, a humanoid shape standing before you. Its eyes scarlet and red. Its form shifting and changing. Static electricity falling off of it, sparking into the water. And it's moving towards the 4 of you now.
I'm gonna move Blinder behind me.
Okay. Blinder had something, yes?
I would like to attune.
Okay.
To see if I can sense what kind of thing this is.
Sure.
So he'll be shocked, getting pushed behind Reaper, and he'll take the needle, prick his finger, and then sort of smudge a thing underneath his eye. And his eyes will go white as he sees into the other world.
All of you hear it speaking. Blinder and Carver hear more, though. When it speaks, its voice resonates as you'd experienced before with the spirit in the warehouse when you were doing the job between the lampblacks and the gondoliers. But now things have changed for both Blinder and Carver. They feel more, they hear more. And so while Reaper and Martin are still hearing that voice speak out in its echoed fashion as though it's multiple voices at once, Blinder and Carver are hearing other voices speaking as well in the space, as though its presence in front of them is heightening the ghost field or weakening the ghost field in some way, allowing more of its energy to trickle through in a sense. At this point, as is common when interacting with ghosts, albeit Blinder is attuning, which is fine, you are given the choice to stand paralyzed or to run in fear. Or the third option, you can try to perform a resistance roll by spending stress and resisting the fear effect. So those are your three choices when interacting with ghosts. Reaper, yes.
I will go ahead and resist.
Okay, so you roll a single die, or sorry, roll your lowest resistance trait, and then minus that from 6, and that's how much stress you spend. Would anyone else like to resist? Martin, did you want to resist? Resisting? Okay. Blinder, are you resisting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of
And
wish I would have taken Iron Will.
I told you it's a great power. And Carver, are you resisting?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to resist.
Okay, awesome. So once everyone has rolled, I'm going to come back through you. So your lowest resistance, what did you roll, Reaper?
6.
Oh, so you spend no stress and you resist the fear. Okay.
Oh.
So you can choose, at any point in time, you can choose to run away in fear. You are not paralyzed in place, but you have a reduced effect to actions while in the presence of the spirit. Okay. Martin.
I tried to resist. I rolled a 2.
Okay, so that means you spend 4 stress.
And I can't spend 4 stress.
Okay, so you're not able to resist. So would you like to run in fear or stand paralyzed?
I would like to stand paralyzed.
Okay.
Does that fill up all my stress, or
No.
do I not take any stress?
You don't take any stress because you're not able to afford the cost, basically.
Okay.
So you don't lose any stress because you couldn't afford the cost of the resistance roll. So you basically just go back to the initial thing before the resistance roll even took place. Blinder.
I rolled a 3 and 2 6s.
Oh, so you rolled a critical. So basically you spend no stress and you resist. So you are, at any point in time, you are welcome to run in fear if you would like, but otherwise you can take actions. You just are taking a negative effect, basically. So anytime you do an action, it's going to have one less effect level. And Carver.
555s.
Okay, so mixed success. You will also be able to resist the effects, but you will be taking, you will basically have a more heightened. Oh, wait, what was Reaper's roll again? Was it a mixed or a 6? Mixed? Okay, so the same thing, actually.
No, it was a 6.
Oh, okay, then full success, crit, and then, yeah. So, you guys will take a negative success. Blinder critted, so I'm going to say that for his first action, he won't take a negative effect, but will take a negative effect later on, if something else doesn't happen or change. And then Carver will also take a negative effect as well, a more heightened negative effect because he got a mixed success, etc. Okay, so back to that. That is what's happening. So now we will continue with actions that can be done. Blinder was attuning. His senses blur. The lantern light flickers. There is a chill that washes past him. And then the world beyond the veil, in a sense, the ghost field opens up to him. And he sees the shape of this person more clearly. They are no longer this crackling energy being. They're a person. A woman, young, probably in her early 20s. She has a massive wound in her chest. And you can see that it's a massive, like, gaping wound, like someone ripped her organs out or something. She stares at you, not in the same way that you had seen outside of your perception within the ghost field. Outside, to the others, they are seeing the red eyes, malice, hatred, anger. And through piercing the veil, Blinder, you see that her eyes are frightened. She's afraid. She's sad. She has this look on her face like she's not in control and she's frightened by what she's doing almost.
So, Is that a past impression has Blinder really learned, like, when he sees these things, if it's something that's distinguishing what's like a current, like, sort of impression of what this thing is versus what's happened in the past, or is it just he sees stuff and he largely doesn't have any reference for interpreting stuff? Because the only time he's done attunement in the Chronicle has been once previous. Like,
He doesn't have enough experience to really know.
okay, so does the ghost seem like it's under any sort of control?
Yes. It seems like it's moving in the same way like you had moved, or like you had the spirit moving, as though something else is sort of automatoming, you know, that like it's a robot or something, or an automaton sort of pushing it forward to come towards you.
Does it seem like it's being propelled in an aggressive manner? Like it's gonna fuck us up or something?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. That's so he's sitting there and he puts his blood over his eye and his eyes go white and he's just sitting there like, and then I'll let the next action happen. That's
Okay.
You know, I have an action after that. They'll wait me around.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to do? Carver,
Reaper's gonna
Reaper? Okay.
Reaper's gonna hold her action until she can figure out what the hell's going on.
Okay. What is the action she's planning to hold? Just so I'm aware.
She's gonna hit that ghost.
Okay, with what? With her fist?
Yeah, I have Ghost Fighter.
You took that power?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Just because I know Martin or Ryan had talked about taking that power, but we were going to have like there be things you would have to learn in game before getting to that point, you know. So,
okay.
So you're fine to have the power, but just keep in mind you don't necessarily have access to it yet, right? It's something that's going to take time to learn. In the same way that Carver has the power where he can hear ghosts, but he had to sort of learn it in the story in a sense and learn what he was hearing. It's the same thing. So just keep that in mind too, is that this will take time and learning and stuff. Blinder, yes.
So like we have to establish it in the fiction first.
Exactly. So establishing it in the fiction in a way that makes sense and learning how to do it. So okay. So in this moment, I will say that it's fine for Reaper to totally try and punch the person. Right, you guys had the conversation about trying to learn how to fight spirits and ghosts and things like that. And so it makes sense for a Reaper in this position, worrying about her friends, would try to strike at it. It may not have the exact effect of the power, because as I said, that's going to take time and learning and precision and practice. But that as an action will be something that can take place. Yes, Blinder.
Maybe this could be like after she gets done, whatever her effect is this is like she'll look back on that and go, what was that? That was crazy, you know?
Yeah, sure.
You know, and then that could reason why she starts discovering that ability.
Sure, yeah.
This is
okay. Okay, so Reaper has a held action. Martin, do you have anything?
I do my best not to shit my pants.
Okay, that's right, because you're paralyzed. Okay. Blinder, you had another action planned.
okay. I'm going to once upon so he's like, enough with the theatrics, and then I'm going to attune and take control of the ghost.
You have no way to do that.
I have compel.
Compel allows you to summon a spirit. It does not let you take control of an active spirit already in your space. If I remember correctly when we double-checked that power.
Okay, then I'll...
You can attune, though, and try to resist it. I will totally allow that. That's totally
Can I
been a thing.
compel my own spirit?
Oh, sure, you could. Yeah.
I was like, I'm done with the theatrics, and then...
And then you're going to summon a spirit. Okay, sure. Yeah, that's
Let
totally
them
fine.
fight.
Yeah, let them fight. Okay. Okay, so go ahead and do the roll for that. Carver, did you have something you wanted to do?
I'm not sure if Carver would know specifically what to do in this instance, but he is dealing with the supernatural. Could he try to attune?
He's
Somehow
never...
sift through the voices and try to figure out what's happening. Try to
Sure.
glean more information.
Sure. Yeah.
That is a 5.
Okay. What is your attune level? Do you have any dots of attune?
1.
1. Okay. And this is your first time you've attuned, really? Okay. So, in that moment, your experiences in which you've been hearing these voices, you're trying to focus in on those sounds. You're trying to really pinpoint them, closing your eyes. And you feel yourself slipping, in a sense, like a sensation of falling for a moment. There's a cold chill that passes over you, your hair standing on end. You feel that same tightness in your muscles that you felt when the strange thing with the necklace took place, sort of paralyze you for a moment. The voices get louder, and you feel like there are people right next to you, speaking to you, like their mouths are almost touching your skin. They're pleading with you. And Blinder, of course, hears this too. The woman is pleading, asking for forgiveness for some sin or some crime. She screams, "Please don't hurt him. Take me instead." And then Carver opens his eyes, and he's blinded for a moment by the sensation, by the sights. He sees Blinder standing amidst a world that is a pale reflection of the world. It is as though he's staring through a window beset by cobwebs, covered in dust, and everything has decayed inside rapidly over time. Blinder focuses his mind and reaches in to the ghost field. And all of you at once see from the floor, once again, a hand creep out of the floor, pulling itself up as though stepping up some sort of ladder to the top of a cliff or something. And it stands there, looking around, somewhat floating over the ground itself. And then eventually it spins. A portion of its arm is almost completely cut off. Its neck is slit as though someone had cut its throat. The bone is protruding from the broken arm. One of its legs are messed up. And it's staring as it turns. It locks eyes with Blinder and is staring at him.
I'll look at him and I'll be like, point to the other ghost, and trying to think of how I should word it. I should word this. I want to basically get direct information from the ghost, because the ghost is saying things. So I think but also though it's aggressing on us. Or I get that Blinder has that distinct impression. So it's subdue and interrogate.
Well, a ghost
that-
won't be able to interrogate because it seems
Yeah.
like it's just spouting things. Subdue, though, would be appropriate, or defend me, or something of that variety.
Is it possible to subdue the ghost? And then I don't. Yeah, I'll say subdue it.
Okay. The ghost, as soon as you say that, turns, and then it lunges forward, floating through space, locking hands. It's locking its hands onto the other spirit, and there seems to be this, like they grab each other, and they are twisting and turning. There is energy crackling off of it, sizzling the water and sending steam up into the air. There is a fight that both Blinder and Carver are seeing as these two spirits lost in emotion and thoughts and memories are lashing out at each other angrily, as though each of the targets are sort of the person who did them wrong, or the target of their ire, in a sense. The woman is still screaming, "No, no, no," as she fights the spirit you had summoned. And then the woman disappears. It doesn't seem to have been done by the spirit you were doing. All at once, her form slips up into liquid again, becoming almost smoke, disappears over the edge of the rampart. And you see the form is standing there again with a different jar, holding it cracked open. The spirit gets sucked inside, and the jar closes. There are markings around the jar, as you had seen before, but right now those markings are lighting up as though some sort of activation or something is taking place. Once the other spirit disappears, the one you had summoned, Blinder, stands there without command, as though it's unsure what to do now.
I'll look at the rest of the group and then look at the ghost and almost sincerely like, wait. Because he's not sure if the ghost will wait around.
It just, all of you see this spirit, and although you don't see the details of its sort of human reflection, Carver and Blinder do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a man that seemed to have been in some sort of horrible accident or something. But the reflection that you see, Reaper and Martin, is staring at Blinder with malice, but is not breaking its gaze from him.
Is Blinder able to hear, or is he still attuning? Oh, I'll just whisper to him because I don't know. What do we do now?
Blinder hears a whisper as though it's in a different room. The voice of Reaper. What do we do now? It sort of echoes.
Tell them that we just came here to exchange information. For an information exchange.
You all hear Blinder say that.
We just came here to exchange information.
Seems that we have.
They've sufficiently impressed us with their theatrics and their enigmas and puzzles. If they don't want to exchange or give us the information, that is fine. But they need to. But I am not impressed. And if they want to summon a ghost again in my presence, I will be even further less impressed and more upset.
Y'all heard the man.
You need not be succinct, but I will be very straight to the point. We require information about Geneva Burke. We are going to use that information to secure a relationship with a gang that will help defend us. You may not want questions or information about Skurlock, because those questions mean death. Well, if you fear asking questions about Skurlock, know that I have asked questions and I have survived.
But only for so long, Ezra Arkady. We have heard of you. The connection was not clear until we saw what you could do. We have heard rumors, stories of the Risen, summoning spirits, vanquishing their foes. It was our goal to see what is rumor and what is fact. Now that we know who you are, and you know who we are even. We can form a deal. Martin.
Am I still paralyzed?
Yes, actually, now that I think about it. Because Blinder summoned the spirit, I'm going to say that Reaper and Carver are also having issues with that, because even though it does not affect Blinder, it does affect the rest of the crew. Blinder, you'll quickly realize that when you sort of separate yourself for a moment from the attune, because you don't actually have to stay attuned to keep control of the spirit.
I'll dismiss the spirit for now.
Okay. So we'll say Blinder steps back to his senses, noticing his comrades are sort of glassy-eyed staring at the spirit, just like, and he's like, oh shit, and sort of unsummons it. Yeah.
Good. Well played. So now that we are even, can we get down to business?
Yes, now we can talk.
He'll look back at Reaper, and then he'll just, and go and try to worm his way into somewhere, into a corner.
There's no corner.
He's just like,
if that was information that you wanted, you could have just asked for that information in exchange for information about Burke.
But the theatrics are so much more entertaining.
But now they've been given information for free, or rather they've taken that information for free.
I agree.
And thus they've destroyed the equity of this relationship. How can
You're free to leave if you want. We have what we have, and you want something from us. Questioning our methods does not earn you any favors. Stay or go, that's your choice.
Let's get down to business and get the information so we can get the fuck out of here.
There are many liars in Duskfall, many people who claim false. We wanted to know if we were dealing with the Risen, or if we were dealing with liars, people who talk tall tales of their tasks and don't speak truth to them. So no, we would not have asked you if you were the Risen. You can't ask someone if they're a liar. They have to prove themselves, or be cast out. Blinder.
I have one question just to
Sure.
resolve. I used compel. That costs 2 stress, correct?
I believe so, yes.
But yeah, I'll just. It is fine. Is unexpected, but quite all right. I'd rather we come out of this exchange with information, and that way, in the future, we'll know who we're dealing with. I would rather have a good relationship with an intelligent ally than especially in the field of espionage.
We wanted to make it very clear to you, and I can tell by your anger that it is quite clear. We are not your friends. We are not your allies. This is a business transaction. You want business? We can discuss that. You want to know information about Geneva Burke, the magistrate, a powerful person. That information does not come cheap.
So name your price.
If it is silver, you would pay 2 strong boxes. 8 coin, basically.
I'll look at the rest of the crew.
If it is information you would exchange, we want information of similar value. Information about one of the council members, the magistrates, or the inspectors, the imperial military, or even perhaps on one of the consulates.
I don't think we have that kind of information.
Then we come to the truth of why we did what we did. There is something you could do for us.
And what is that?
There is a ghost. An angry, malevolent ghost. In a place. It is guarding one of our caches, and we haven't been able to get to it. We are not whispers. We purchase our goods. But such things are expensive. If you have it in your means to remove such a spirit, that is a very expensive task. That would be worth the same amount in silver. Especially if such things would be kept off the warden's radar.
I'll look at Blinder and Carver with questioning look on her face.
I can attempt. I'll profess I do not, other than your thing, I have never banished an entity. If I were to be honest about it. But we can attempt to at least get you access to your cache and remove or displace the threat.
Do it now, then. You hear the footsteps as she disappears off behind the rampart. Then you hear stone moving, and you see another pathway down.
Okay.
The waterway, you realize now, as a stone sort of slowly raises, there is a walkway across it now that is set very shallowly in water.
Finder will look back at the others and like,
Well, I'm not going first.
I'll go first.
I'll catch the rear.
Blinder
Yeah, you
will follow behind Reaper.
So you all descend into the tunnel, walking down a stairway that eventually leads to a further antechambers, deeper and deeper down the stairway, past doorways and things of that variety. Pathways, all beset in this stone. You go down at least 3 more layers. It's obvious to you, Blinder, and those of you that have talked about it, that there are many places in Duskfall that have been built upon other places. Structures and things lost to the years. And obviously this is one of them, perhaps dating all the way back to the creation of Duskfall itself, or sometime shortly after. You descend down this pathway until eventually you find yourselves at the very bottom, a large open space.
I have a question.
Sure.
Now it says with Ghost Mind, you are always aware of supernatural enemies in your presence. You take 1d when you gather info about the supernatural. Now, gather info is a specific thing, like a type of role. But would that be applicable to anything when I was attempting to like study, or I mean, could I use that as a justification? Or
Yeah, I would say that when you're trying to gather information about spirits or things like that, that would definitely apply, sure. I wouldn't say it applies when you're like fighting a spirit or something like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I get down to the big room, I'm going to attempt to attune basically, like, you'll see me take out a coin you've seen him have before. It has like a red on one side, and it's like an old fashioned, like, sort of like a silver dollar sized coin. And he rubs it a little bit, and he holds it in front of him and spins it. He flicks it to spin, right? And he's going to attune. So I'm gonna roll 4 dice, because 3 for my attune and 1 for the gather information, because he's going to attempt to gather information about the spirit, where it would be located, and any additional information that he can sense, if he can hear or whatever, before we necessarily enter its proximity. Two twos, a 3, and a 5.
Okay. 2 2s, a 3, and a 5. So a mixed success. One.
I say it like
second.
that so the audience knows when I'm rolling. So I'm not
Yes.
just always going 5, 6, 5, 6. You know, it's like
As you're going further and deeper down into this place, it is getting colder and colder, and all of you can feel it. And as you descend down to this large, open stone antechamber, there's a great sewer, sort of great, like large wrought iron going all the way down into a pathway of water moving through, as though you are in these very deep old sewers of some variety, or aquifers from the original foundation of Duskmall. And you see across a simple stone pathway across it, a section, an area, where there are a collection of items. Items seem like simple things, paintings and scrolls and carpets and luxury items and things of that variety, hidden away in a dark corner. But the thing that you realize, Blinder, is something you had only ever heard of. And it has nothing to do with these items. You feel a connection to the ghost field become strong and almost physically palpable, even before you attune. Reaper and Martin, for the first time, as you're crossing the threshold across the waterway, you step into a similar visual experience that Blinder and Carver had felt before. There are ripples and reflections of people. There are people stuck in moments of pain and suffering happening at different places, screaming, yelling angrily, lost in sadness. And it all clicks at once to you, Blinder, that if this was just a simple ghost, why wouldn't they just use a spirit jar? This is something almost uncontrollable. This is what is known as a spirit well. A literal rip between the fabric that separates our material world from the ghost field. It happens very rarely, and it is a place where spirits will congregate to pass over. It would make sense that a place so deep in the earth, hidden under Duskfall, would have allowed it to continue to exist and perhaps not been noticed by the wardens. But still, it is very rare, nonetheless.
what does Blinder know about such phenomenon? Or is it just only something he's heard about?
Yes, it's only really something he's heard about in rumor. He's never seen one. It's, there's rumors surrounding them about perhaps they're the spawning points of demons. They are the pathways between our world and the next. Nothing is sure. And they're so rare that you weren't even sure if you would even see one in your lifetime.
This is not a simple ghost. This is and then he'll turn and look at the face of Martin and Reaper. And even Carver, really, too, because he hasn't really said it. It's like, can you see?
Is this what you see all the time?
This is sort of not quite as. It's a little bit more. This is like a reflection. I don't. This is a rip. The
A
dead.
rip.
It's known as a well, a spirit well. They come here because they can sense the world much stronger here. I don't know what I can do about this. Wait a minute. You said there was a pathway out to the center, like little island where there was stuff, basically.
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah.
Let me try to see if I can cross. Do one of you have rope? I really need to start carrying purchase things for myself now.
This would be an excellent point for someone to mark boxes on their load and to rope.
I was gonna say I'll mark off climbing gear.
Sure.
And
did you have something,
Okay.
Reaper, or were you going to do the same thing?
No, I have this.
Oh yeah. Okay. We'll say Martin does it then. We'll say Martin, pulls some rope out of a simple backpack he was wearing or something, or perhaps under his jacket, something like that.
It's the Highlander thing where he pulls the katana out of his trench coat, it disappears. Yeah.
Well, I got a mule, I might as well put it to good use.
That's true.
He'll tie a rope to himself. Okay. If I die, drag my corpse and make sure it's buried in a prominent place, and just start walking across.
As Blinder walks across this pathway to the island, he is stepping, and then at once he disappears, and the rope falls limp.
We'll go to try and pull the rope back.
And you pull in the rope?
Mm-hmm. Well, Martin starts walking off.
Reaper, did you have something?
Where did he disappear to?
So, as I had explained, there's a pathway across one of the areas of water that go underneath with a sort of like little island section of stone sort of set out where you saw all these art pieces and things like that, right? The obvious cache that the Wraiths were referring to. And so Blinder, with the rope tied around himself, went walking off down that path. And as he got further along that path, almost halfway, the rope goes limp, and you see Blinder disappear from sight.
I will follow.
Okay, so Martin goes walking off, as he's already stated. Reaper follows behind him. Carver, what are you doing?
Do I see anything beyond that point? Like with the vision that we have.
Like, physically? Like, beyond the space?
No, more like an attuning vision. Like, is there anything there?
You're wanting to attune to and then stare into the space?
Yeah.
Okay. You attune, and as you look, you see that the space is not dingy or dark. It is almost vibrant. It is a reflection of a time that once existed. As though you're perhaps seeing a memory.
Do I see Blinder beyond that, or is it just there?
It's just there.
I will keep moving forward and keep pace with the other two.
Okay. I'll say that they had stepped ahead of you because you were sitting there looking and everything, and they sort of disappeared as well into the space. And then Carver will be going. But before we get to what everyone sees, Blinder has been gone, at least to Blinder, for some time. He steps through, and did you have something, Blinder?
Oh, I was just gonna say this is totally the Kender entering the sphere of annihilation. Right. This is how you lose parties, ladies and gentlemen. Just saying.
Sure.
Proceed.
So Blinder walks in, and immediately as he realizes that he's no longer beset by darkness of this lower catacomb space, faint light, held by torches and oil lamps that your crew had brought down in order to see, but the space becomes illuminated. In the center of the space, in the center of the island, is a table. The goods sit on top of the table, and there are spirits sitting at the table, not paying attention to any of the artwork or art or any of the things. It's as though it's just something in the way to them. But they are talking to one another, having some sort of conversation. A hushed, whispered conversation. And as Blinder comes walking in, he immediately feels that sense of that you've interrupted something. You've walked into a room in the middle of an important meeting, and everyone stops talking, turns, and looks to Blinder.
Blinder stops, and there's very like a long like kind of sort of moment where he's like not really sure what to do or how to interact. It doesn't feel like normally when he interacts and when he's attuning or anything like that.
Yes, it's very different. It's when Blinder attunes, it feels like he's glimpsing into a different space, like he's looking into this other world. And for the first time, Blinder does not feel like he's glancing into some other space. He feels like he's physically there, like he's crossed into the ghost field.
I need you to leave. It's just could try to say as just to see how that works.
At this point, after you say that, they all continue looking at you.
Okay.
One of them stands up and continue looking at you. You feel a bump behind you then, as Reaper, Martin, and Carver. Reaper and Martin at first come barging in behind you, smacking into your back. Reaper and Martin, you see the same thing. You see a reflection of a table, sort of shimmering and disappearing at moments, as though you're seeing these people. You see old people, would once who had perhaps been lords or something, flickering in and out of sight. They're gathered at this large, long table, all talking, or you at least presume they had been, and they're staring your direction. One of them is standing. Carver then shortly afterwards come bumping in again.
Leave. No. This is not a place for you.
If we leave, Then others will come. Others who may not be so polite. And for the first time, when you hear his voice, it's not resonating or echoing like you're hearing whispers. It's full. It's as though you're speaking to the man himself.
We require the space. I'm not sure the extent to which this well occupies. But if we could have the space, there are objects here for the living. And he says that like very like he kind of sits before he even says the word because he doesn't know to what extent the dead know that they're dead. Or what that word, reminding them of that they're dead will do to them necessarily. If you are guarding it from others, fine. But these things are for the living. They are not for you.
If we do not stand watch here, the horde will come. And then you hear whispering amongst all the people at the table. The horde. Shh. There's fear you can see on their faces.
What is the horde?
The hungry dead.
How can we make it to where you can stay here and the living can come and
We must
obtain.
close this pathway.
So does that mean we have to move everything out of this room?
These
Okay.
items are tied to things, feelings, thoughts, fears. This place was already weak. Such emotion stirred a rip. The rip became torn, and then the dead passed through. If you want this place to cease, you must take these items somewhere else.
Very well. We will close the path and we'll. There's probably a lot of stuff here, I imagine.
Yeah, it's like a cache of loot, basically.
I'll just look over at Martin and be like, "Well, time to get to work." And then he'll go very nervously, trying to like, "Excuse me," around the coast.
None of them try any sort of harm towards you. All of them sort of give you space. Like none of them reach out to touch you. If any of you reach out to try and touch them, they sort of hold up their hand in this sort of like no sort of way, like they're worried about what might happen. They seem as puzzled to see you here as you are puzzled to see them here, if that makes any sense. There's this strange interaction that takes place in mostly body language, visual cues and the occasional little muttering or pointing at things where they're just like, no one seems to understand how whatever is happening here is happening. It seems confusing. But eventually you spend time moving all of the items off of this island. And as you do, you see this vision start to get smaller and smaller and smaller, as though a spider's web, was cast between great branches of a tree, and it's slowly being pulled inward on itself until it eventually closes. And you're left there, at the edge of what was once the spirit well, with a pile of items on the far side now. And now all you see is the space, the antechamber, the empty stone floor.
Okay. I didn't know that they existed like that. That was very interesting.
Martin.
So were we successful then? Are we done?
I think we're done. Yes.
I thought we had to close the pathway.
Is there something I missed? Like a pathway looks like it's closed, correct? Or he'll take a second look back and look over the room. And go stepping into it again.
You stand on an empty island of stone beset by water.
I think this is appropriate. We should probably inform them of what it was. I don't think, and then we should leave, or after we get our information, and well, we probably have a great deal of conversation.
You notice, Blinder, as you return to the space, you had been sort of busy, hurriedly moving things. And all of you can notice this if you watch where Blinder is or approach him. You see that there is a marking on the stone.
Have we seen this marking before?
No, but it's familiar in the way that it's written. Wait, have all of you looked at the symbol that was in the house that Carver found and then brought back? Have all of you guys looked at that? Because I know a few of you had. I know Carver
I don't remember.
did. Martin and Reaper. We'll say that you guys don't recognize it, but you might have seen. It seems familiar because Blinder was working on it. Blinder, now that you're no longer hurried by everything that was going on, holding a lantern, you notice the symbol that you had seen previous, a symbol similar to it, was set here. It's caked away on the stone. Blood and ash and soot again. And at the very center of the section where the vast circle with symbols throughout it was set was the place that this ghost well seemed to have sprung from.
I'll look at the marking, and I'll he'll go and reach for some coal, and or charcoal, and then he'll stop you like, no. Piece of paper, please.
I presume Reaper and Martin are both going to stop him from writing things on his scanning it. Okay. Yeah.
But he'll try to take a coal rubbing.
You've seen almost this exact symbol before with a few markings changed. You recognize once again, Blinder, that this is your work. That someone is trying to replicate your work and do something with it that you had never quite thought of doing. And you're unsure if they were successful. It is old, though. The markings are old. Months, perhaps, or even longer.
He's like, "Shh. This is not something we need to discuss here, but this is disturbing. And he'll hold it up and he'll fold it. I think I know what's happening here, although I don't know how or why. I recognize this.
Well, so do I.
From the Lampblax, the artifact we found. The one that I lost.
No. This is from that paper that I brought to you. When Mercy and I went to go and find Connor.
Right? Yeah, okay. I think my notes were wrong then. Oh, yes. Well, I think we have some interesting questions that will arise from this. But I don't think we're going to get answers here. Let's conclude our business with these people and be on our way.
Let's.
So upon that horrifying realization that once again something that Blinder had worked on is perhaps coming back to haunt him, that whatever work is being done in some foul plot only seems to be possible because of something Blinder had found, that it's somehow connected to Connor and to Carver's experience, and that it will haunt the entirety of the crew for some time. I think that is where we will head to our break. Having finished handling the problem, in a sense, they decided to head back up. And I wanted to start right back there for a moment with Carver. Carver, as the rest of the crew goes walking away from this cache of items, art, and antiquities and things of that variety that are obviously objects of wealth for the Wraiths, you start following behind the rest of the crew as you start making your way back towards the stone stairs, the large stairs descending or ascending off. And you hear a whisper, Carver, a soft voice.
Carver will stop and listen.
It comes very quickly and then fades away as though you can't hear it really at first. And then it repeats. It says, Zacharias, the knife. And that echoes in Carver's ears. And as that happens, and that word is sort of bouncing around inside Carver's mind, in the pile of goods, something moves and tumbles. And he sees, reflecting very faintly from the lantern light of his crewmates, a simple blade laying on the cobblestone floor.
Carver will walk back to inspect it.
As Carver approaches, he sees the blade is not all metal. It is a wood handle inset with inscriptions, symbols. A portion of the handle at the very end, the pommel, in a sense, is made of stone, a mineral of some type, raw, jagged, but small, not polished. There is a sense to the blade that it is obviously not an ornament. It is something strange. There's a resonance that Carver can feel. A similar resonance that he once felt when he placed the necklace over his neck, onto his chest. The blade is dull and nicked, an old metal, not new steel, perhaps bronze or something of that variety.
Carver will quickly, after gathering that much information, stow the blade.
He's sneaking it away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I won't require you to roll or anything. No one's really paying attention. Perhaps someone glances back and then notices Carver for a moment, but now sees him walking towards the rest of the group. Was there anything that anyone wanted to say before we transition? Okay. No one seems to take notice, Carver. And you fall in with the rest of your crew. You all ascend the stairway back up into the antechamber above. And when you arrive, you see the same silhouetted figure, a mask on their face, as you had seen before, a great frown set dramatically across it. They stand with their hands on the rampart, the banister, looking down at you as you step back up. They wait for you to step out of this secret passageway across the simple, shallow bridge, your boots getting a tiny bit wet, and then you find yourselves back where you had once stood.
It's done.
So simply,
You have it was not a ghost that needed to be dispelled. I think I know what it was. What caused it. And why? If you this information is important to you because the situation could come about. Your problem could come about again. But I have questions. Perhaps another exchange can be arranged for information.
you want to ask me questions?
Oh, absolutely.
And what would you pay me for the answers?
For you meddling in things that you do not understand. And perhaps, well, I think since you mentioned that you bargain for such things, when dealing with ghosts that you do not have a whisperer of your own. Whoever sold you what they sold you, perhaps, depending on your reasons for your purchase, sold you shoddy goods. It's entirely up to you. I mean, I'm not going to give you a riddle or a rhyme. But I know what was causing your situation. And if that information is not pertinent to you, because if you do not understand what it was that was causing it, it will happen again. Only the next time it might be much more significantly worse for you. Not because of me, but because you're meddling in things that perhaps you don't understand.
There are secrets to the world that not all of us are aware of. Obviously, you see between these cracks. What are the things you wish to know, other than information about Fair Burke?
I want to know who sold you this, or where you acquired it.
What is it that you're
He
holding?
shows him the chalk out, the symbol.
We saw that down there. That was none of us. It had been there for some time.
I see.
We have seen those markings in other places. Hidden places. It is obvious to us that someone, some group, is trying very hard to not be noticed doing whatever it is they were doing down there.
How long ago did you discover the chamber?
A few months.
Did you say? A few months. Very well. What has caused you... It was not a ghost that was causing your situation. It was... Whatever this was interacting with the objects of importance that you had placed there. Objects carry memories with them, emotions with them. When you touch something, you leave an imprint in this other world. The dead seek those emotions. They draw power from them because they are dead. They have no longer any need. They have no longer any ability, because they are not alive, to generate their own. By collecting the objects in that one place, you created a focused amount of energy, emotion, psychic resonance. The dead are drawn to such things, and when a dead collect in one place, the fabric between our world and their world thins, breaks a little further. What you had down there was a very rare phenomenon, by my understanding, although I am not an expert on this phenomenon, called a spirit well.
You know far more than we do. Perhaps that's why.
You were lucky, because those individuals, ghosts I speak, that you had down there were a type I had never encountered before, but a type that were not hungry. And they had sought to protect the place from other dead and other beings that would seek to use such place.
There are dead who are not mindless.
The Hungry Dead, if you were to collect those objects, I would suggest that you disperse your collection of objects a little bit more evenly amongst, I assume this is not the only cache that you operate.
Why has it never happened before in any of our caches?
Because this, and I recognize this, because somebody has been copying my work.
Your work.
Yes.
You take the heart of the living?
No. That is why I say it is a copy. They are attempting to replicate off of my work and use it for some other means.
Tit for tat. When we found this place, we found a body down there. Its chest ripped open, its heart removed.
The woman you summoned.
We captured her to keep ourselves safe. Was she a woman?
Yes.
We don't have eyes like you. We see only what it shows us.
I would be very I would be interested to know where else you have seen these symbols.
Perhaps a future trade.
Perhaps.
At that moment, you see a few individuals come up the stairs, all masked as well. They walk across the platform, walk to your two sides towards the door, turn to the person up above, and give some sort of hand gesture. The one nods. The person nods to them.
Well, now that you have had your problem remedied, and you, in addition, know how to prevent the problem in the future, Miss Burke, Magister Burke,
We can give you what we know, but you must understand that this information could ruin her life in the wrong hands. Is that a trade you're willing to make? All of you?
I don't. We all ruin lives. Seems to be their nature. Our nature. I unfortunately am willing. Although I will profess to you, I do not feel good about it.
I don't necessarily feel good about it either, but in order to achieve what I want to achieve, yeah, I'm willing to take the risk that that happens.
Carver will pace away from the group, kind of walking back and forth, deep in thought.
Reaper isn't saying anything. She's standing there watching.
Are the stairs obstructed?
No, the stairs go back to the original tunnel way that you had walked through. They're not obstructed in any way, shape, or form. Or do you mean the hatchway that you guys had gone down further into the catacombs?
The stairways leading up and out.
No, they're not in any way blocked or anything.
Carver will turn and look at the masked individual and without saying a word, just start to walk away and exit the place.
Sure. The one standing above in the ramparts looks over at one and says, "Sparrow," and then turns her head, and one of them opens a door, disappears inside of a door, and then a few moments later comes back out the same door, closing it behind them, and they're holding in a sense, like a manila envelope filled with very thick.
Martin will lightly take it from them if they'll give it away.
Yeah, they walk up and they are holding it out, gesturing it to someone in the crew.
Martin will snag it. Pleasure. And he will begin walking up.
Martin turns and walks out.
Blinder turns once he sees Martin has received the envelope and doubt. He'll turn to leave himself, and he'll stop before he exits. Waiting for Reaper, and then he'll look back over at them. If you have any more further complications with your room, you may reach out to me. I would be willing to attempt to resolve whatever situation that may arise. I do not know or think that there will be one, but I feel partially responsible.
Did you have more? Okay. When Blinder finishes saying that, the masked individual behind the rampart speaks out, as though trying to catch Blinder before he turns. "Be more confident, Ezra Arkady. You are the only man who has looked Skurlock in the eyes and told him no. And you are still breathing. If that is not enough to boost your confidence, then there are not many things in this world that would."
Yes. I have tried, and I will try to keep such things in mind. Unfortunately, I often find that my confidence It makes me more afraid. But I appreciate the sentiment. I look forward to our next interaction if there ever is one. Maybe next time I'll come prepared to answer a puzzle.
He had
Yeah.
asked me to ask you that. I presume he will seek you out. Mortis.
On. He would, as in Skurlock?
No, she said Mortis at the end.
Oh, Mortis. Okay. I was like, confused me for a second there. Yes.
He shows a great interest in you and your friend.
Well, our, I am not quite sure. I am aware of the interest of Mortis, or at least their involvement to some degree, although I do not understand what and why. But if anything, my history with Skurlock taught me to be very careful about the interest of others. I will consider approaching Carver, as well as I have many questions that need answered.
He does not have all the answers, but he has lots of questions too.
Good evening. And can we say that like he had palmed a biscuit? Was it a biscuit that he had, or was it a croissant?
Oh, pastries.
Reaper pastries. He had Ezra had palmed one of the pastries.
Sure.
You know,
He
It's
did
like-
take one of them. I don't remember if he ate it, so sure.
enjoy your donut.
We own the shop. Why would we need here say?
He'll just walk off.
Is Reaper following them out, or is Reaper still waiting inside?
No, Reaper will follow him out.
Okay. So, oh, go ahead, Blinder.
Once we get into a cart or out of sight or wherever it is we're going, right? Like Blinder is just going to have one of those like like breakdown, like, oh my god, I can't believe I just went through that. Sort of moments very visibly. Even if it's just outside the shop, wherever we're transitioning to just before we do that.
Presume you guys will leave the shop. You'll maybe grab a carriage or something, heading presumably back to Crowsfoot, Dunslow. Where is it you're planning to go?
Probably Crow's Foot.
Okay. At this point, it is much later in the afternoon, bordering on evening at this point. The time it took for you to descend down into the catacombs to do the investigation, to find the Wraiths, night had fallen, and so you've gone into night at this point in time with everything. So you can return to Crowsfoot. I'm just letting you know that it is evening, so you're not sure...
Well, I wasn't trying to speak for everybody. I just thought that's where we wanted to go.
Totally. I just wanted to check in to see where the crew wanted to go.
Blinder doesn't just basically is just like, oh, I don't care, just go where. Like, he's just so absorbed and finally not having, he's just kind of entered that panic mode of like, I just can't believe I just like walked through that situation without panic. Like he's been holding it inside the entire time.
Okay, well then, how about we go back to the pub, because it is nighttime now. Why don't we go back to the pub, recover from that, and then tomorrow we'll go, and we'll deliver the news.
Yes. I need. Yes.
Okay. So you hail a cabbie, you hop inside, you head to Dunslow, back to Pond Street. Was there any sort of conversations that are going on during that time, or is everyone sort of lost in thought and the experience of what took place?
Reaper is uncharacteristically not talking and avoiding everybody.
After a while, in the silence of the carriage ride, or however we're being transported, Carver, without looking at anyone, will begin to speak. I don't know if you made the deal. I don't want to. And I don't want to know anything about any information that was procured. If it's going to destroy a life that doesn't deserve to be destroyed, I am washing my hands of that now.
Unfortunately, it's not the first time I've ruined a life. So, I'll go ahead and take the brunt of that for you.
Geneva Burke is not a saint. She's an idealist. And she strives for a correct an end to judicial corruption. But we don't have to tell you the details. That is fine. Your conscience, obviously, you are. But I've said it to you before. We are all hungry here. This is the nature of this city. It is not one individual destroying another. We all are trying to prevent the city from destroying us. What,
We all have our reasons. We all have motives. We all have a moral stance. I'm not about to change mine and become a hypocrite. We stopped the Toads. And for each of you, that reason might be different, but for me, beating down the Toads was recompense for them shooting a man in the streets in cold blood. And I'm not about to take down someone who has been working their entire life to bring people like that to justice and become the gunman.
And how many lives has she destroyed? But I don't know, judging unjustly? It's a genuine question. I don't know.
And then you have to ask where you draw the line. Where do you draw the line at interfering with the law, whether you stop at a judge or you stop at a blue coat?
The conclusion that I'm drawing here is that the billhooks will use this information to press her, to release the progenitor of the billhooks. Someone who has a reputation, a vaunted reputation, for being a relentless murderer.
Yes. That's exactly what we were talking about. But that relentless murderer, who leads a gang of relentless murderers, has built an established reputation that will keep other gangs and other interests who would come knocking at our door away from us. Because, make no mistake, we have one individual who has incurred the ire of one of the most powerful, influential people in this city. We have another, myself, who has, well, said no to a person who no one has ever said no to. And if we are to defend ourselves against these individuals, we cannot afford to have squabbles. We cannot afford to have fights, meaningless fights. Because we intend, with this crew, to make our little square block, our little patch of dirt, better. For people who live there, who are getting ground to dirt by the system. And when those people, the people who are looking for me, and the people that are looking for Martin, not to speak of even the people who have involved themselves with you, come knocking at our door, if we are not prepared, the death that will happen, the destruction that will happen to people's lives, for no other consequence than a proximity to us. So yes, Geneva Burke will be blackmailed, and she will be harmed professionally, perhaps, maybe even physically, I don't know. But using the fear of one psychopath means that we can protect ourselves in our neighborhood, so we can start doing some good, and we can prevent the eventual day that will come along. I would rather take that. I'm sorry. I understand your idealism. I once felt the same way myself. And honestly, it has reawoken a small part of myself. Mr. Your, I don't know if it's naivety or if it's just a character. But there is a line, because that person died because I held too fast to my idealism, too much to my convictions, and I was destroyed. And everything I had was in ruins. So yes, I admire it, and you may wash your hands of it for now. But that it will not change or sway my taste. He reaches into his coat and he looks out the window as if he's just like done with the conversation, but he seems to be like just kind of, he almost takes something out, but then he puts it back and he just kind of keeps his hand in there for a moment as if like holding it or whatever, and then he kind of sets his hand. Goes into lost thinking, deep thought, that uncomfortable silence that often follows the wake of a disagreement.
The carriage starts to come to a stop. And as you peer out the windows, you realize that you are not back in Pond Street. You see a long line of carriages ahead of you. And you see people on both sides of the roads holding lanterns adorned in uniforms, checking the carriages, checking the wagons. They're holding some sort of photograph, wanted picture. They're pointing to it, talking to people. I'll go first to Reaper then we'll go to Martin. Reaper.
I'm gonna wait till the carriage is going on a roll, and I'm gonna hop out. My intent is to go and take a look at the picture as closely as I can, like as close as I can get with them holding up the picture, you know, for me to actually see it.
Okay, so your plan is to slip out of the carriage and try to... Because the carriage is basically at a complete stop at this point. So you're basically going to step out of it, at least secretly, I presume, and then try to slip into whatever crowd, because there's also a crowd of people walking along the road that's being stopped as well, and your plan is to sneak up to it and try to see the picture. Okay. Martin, what was on your mind?
I was just going to try and sneak off from the cart just in general.
Okay. So are you doing anything beforehand, or are you just hopping out and then trying to walk off somewhere?
I am gonna like take my coat, kind of rough it up a little bit, get a hood.
Okay.
You know, try and hide myself as best I can.
Sure.
Get just a general overcoat.
Yeah.
Cover up my clothes and
then out the door. Martin slips off into the darkness of night, disappearing into the crowd. Reaper, as you approach, you see that they're holding a wanted picture to the likeness of Martin. They are questioning, saying, "Have you seen this man? He's wanted for murder." Yes,
Who's
Reaper.
murder, sir?
Oh, there's a lot of things going on, so we'll say one of them passes you the wanted poster sort of thing. It doesn't say who's murder. It just says for murder in the first degree.
I'll take the wanted poster and stick it in my pocket.
Okay.
And then I'll get back in the carriage.
Okay. So you hop back into the carriage. The carriage slowly rolls forward. Eventually, the Bluecoats stop you, open up the carriage, check it. You guys let them check you. They don't seem to be looking for you or even recognize you. There's a moment, though, where they ask the cabbie if he's seen someone who looks like this. And he looks at you guys, and then looks at the blue coat.
And I'll ask him, or I'll just say out, if you can get us there faster, I'll double the price.
Well, this is in front of a blue coat, because they're basically
and I'll
interrogating you.
I'll tell him
I see.
If you, yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So I'm going to require one of you to spend a coin in order to deal with this, or you can lose reputation, or you can gain heat.
What do you guys think?
What's our heat at?
Your heat is currently at 1.
We may be able to gain a point of heat, or is it like more than? Do we know how much heat we might gain?
No, you don't know.
Oh, we don't know. Do we have a coin?
I think we do.
You do. You have
Yeah.
2 coin in the
Yeah.
in the crew stash currently. That has not been spent.
Yep. 1 coin. There you go.
Boom. Okay. 1 more of the coin is spent from the crew stash. And you say, we'll say you blended into conversation. One of those, hey, when we're done here, we're going to miss our date if, we'll double the price if you go fast. And the cabbie looks at you, and then he gets what you're saying, and he just, like, tips his hat, and he's like, nope, I haven't seen anybody like that. And then just goes back to what he was doing. They end up checking through the rest of the cab, nothing. And they're like, well, on your way. And then you guys jump back up into the carriage, and off it drives further into Dunslow, and then eventually arriving at Pond Street. You pay him, of course, and you're dropped off at the end of Pond Street, walking down to the familiar Pond Street pub. I presume you eventually will find Martin there. Martin probably snuck off to the Pond Street pub, maybe even taking the Canalway route or something like that. Like he jumped off into the Canalway and probably ran across the Canalway, I presume.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Some way I'm making it back to home base.
Okay, so yeah. You all eventually find yourselves there. Martin comes walking in sometime later, and I will presume you're in the Pond Street pub proper. Everybody's there, of course. Eunice is there. Aldo is still up in his room. Virgil is there. Clem and Marvin are still there. Mercy is currently not there. But yeah. You all find yourselves there. Martin arrives sometimes later.
Were they looking for me?
Yeah. For murder.
For murder?
For first degree murder. Reaper's gonna light up a cigarette and go make herself some. Right there.
Okay. I had a thought about doing this later, but can you... Blinder, can you help me right now?
Maybe. What do you need?
Because I was gonna try and do the thing that you've been teaching me how to do on the watch.
Oh, I see.
I didn't know if there was a different process, a special thing I had to do for objects, or...
No, I can help. Yes. Let me go and never taught anyone before. Let me go and find something, and meet me in the bathroom or the water closet. And he'll walk off into the back part of the kitchen and looking for something.
Oh. I will start distributing pastries to everybody.
And everyone graciously accepts your wonderful gift. Of course, there is a dinner that's been put on. The rations are rather meager. It's more of kind of a mushroom mash with rat protein kind of things. A sort of Dunslow shepherd's pie, if you will. But people are, fed. It may not be the best meal, but they're fed. And they definitely accept the wonderful gift of those pastries. It sort of blots out the horrible taste of mushroom mash and rat protein. So yeah, rat meat.
So how do we want to do this? Do we want to do like a group meetings, like a scene, like where we're meeting, and then do Martin's scene with me and Martin, or guys, or how do you want to do that? Because I'm sure we're gonna have to talk as a group to determine what's going on next.
We can do the group meeting first.
Okay.
We'll say that eventually, as people sort of find their way out of the kitchen with their food, you guys shut the door, disappearing into the hideaway. So it's just the four of you.
Yeah. Okay. So, as soon as everybody gets out, yeah, Blinder will open up and it's just like, Mr. Carver, I hope I wasn't too There's been a lot of tension tonight, and I wouldn't want to think that it wasn't sensitive to your convictions or didn't admire you.
Well, I'm not blind to how naive it must seem to be in a crew like this, taking jobs like this, and delving into the world of these scenarios.
Well, if it
But
makes any...
truth be told, it's extremely difficult to find myself in a position where I want to uphold these ideals. But I also want very much not to. I want to be able to ignore them because there are reasons for which ignoring them would be easier. Purposes that I could put that thing to. I just don't know how to address it without, well, disagreeing.
We should have disagreements. They're healthy. Argument is, as long as we understand that, I mean, we really have no other choice. At least I don't. So with that, I have a confession. You were probably not entirely aware of most of what that conversation back with the Phantoms meant, and who Skurlock is, and I feel I need to confess. I've already spoken with Martin once before on this matter, but I was not clear then. I just only alluded that I had known who Skurlock was. My reason for being here with you is because at one point in my life, not too very long ago, I was in a position where Skurlock made me an offer. He had come into the knowledge that I had talents, and well, the reasons why I accepted the offer are not really necessarily relevant, but he offered me a great deal in exchange. Knowledge and secrets. He is something of a manner of an occultist himself. And when I accepted his offer, his platitudes that he initially given me, it very quickly turned to threats and coercion. He did not want a student. He wanted a slave, minion, henchman, or something. He wanted something very much more. Now, I don't know. I was truthful. I had never really met Skurlock, except for once. When I told him no. I do not, to this night, understand why I'm still walking around. He is looking for me. I joined with you, and this is the confession, because I had intended until at least a very short time ago, up until a short time ago, to use you. I have spent a great deal of time running from him. And he will come for me someday. And if you are in his way, you will more than likely die. Or worse. I only telling you this because, well, because of you, Mr. Carver. Because of your ideals. You remind me very much of the person that I was once, and I don't ever think I'll be that person again, but there's a small part of me that, of that person that still exists. And, that has made me, care much more about you than I initially was. I won't lie, me and Martin don't agree on much, and, Reaper is still very much an enigma to me. And, well, your obsessions with me, my practices, very strange and annoying sometimes, but whoever was performing those acts was, Skurlock has incorporated somehow the Phantoms mentioned Mortis. I think after we're done concluding our affairs with the billhooks, we should turn our sights to Night Market once again, to Mortis and Pearl, so we can accomplish and resolve this matter, begin resetting our sights and resolving the matter with Mr. We will need resources.
What about meeting up with your friend?
I was going to ask him about Mortis and about this, what he knew. And I have some other questions, so we should probably do that. Flint is a curiously resourceful individual, so he may have some insights that are not under my suspicion, but I do not know whether or not that. I don't think that is necessarily a priority here. Anyway, well, there you go. Turn over to other people's thoughts are on the subject.
On what subject? The possibility of ruining someone's life?
Well,
Or
there
just
is that little matter, yes, I guess.
Well, as I said before, it's not the first time I've ruined someone's life. So for me, it's not that difficult. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy the possibility of someone becoming destitute, maybe falling under the same system that they once were a part of. I don't enjoy that fact. But if it gets me where I want to go, I'm sorry. Nothing stops me.
Maybe that's why Marlene doesn't like you very.
It's a very strong possibility. But at the end of the day, what I'm going to do with all the horrible, all the shit I have to trudge through now, is going to make it worth so much more when it's done.
Well, my point is that working in a crew, for you to have those feelings, makes me feel like I'm disposable.
None of you are disposable.
Until you
Not
need-
even this magistrate is disposable. These are still people. She's still a
Yeah.
person. You all are people.
Right, but if we're in your way of where you need to go, to say you wouldn't push us out of.
Well, more than likely, if our, I don't know, lines diverge that much, I have no intention of stepping on any of you. I would walk away. I would go and try and achieve my own ends if it came to that. But I don't see that happening. Because regardless of what depths that I'm willing to go to, in some people's perspective, somebody's going to have to do it. So it might as well be me.
Well, I'm tired of this conversation, so I'm going to go back into the kitchen.
Well, I believe there's enough time for me to attend to Mr. Martin's request, and then you said it's nighttime, Michael? How close are we to the meeting time with Flint?
Whenever you want to go. Evening
So let's go.
is generally the preference.
Then I believe. Well, I think Mr. Carver might. I think certainly, Mr. Carver, you should come with me. I think you will. You may be able to. You're on a pursuit as well. If you want to. See. So let's go upstairs. To the bathroom.
Why does it have to be the bathroom? We have a washroom down here.
Mystic energies.
There are mystic energies in the bathroom. Okay.
Yes, I find it. I find it. Yes.
I will take your word on that.
The ley
this
lines
involves me-
converge in the water closet.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Reaper is going to slip away and go into her room and close the door.
So I lead everybody upstairs to the common, like, bathroom, or what serves as the bathroom where people would bathe, and
The washroom.
the washroom. Now, do they have pumps in these sort of things for water?
No,
Like how-
as
or
I
is
had
it-
explained it to you before when Blinder took a
Mhm.
bath up there,
Yeah.
there's a great big steam pot that you
Okay.
basically warm up the water. Like you bring buckets of water up, pouring it in, it heats it up, then you take the warmed
Yeah.
water and throw it
Okay.
into the bath, basically.
So he brings you up, and he brings up 2 chairs. He's like, okay, wait here. And he brings back 2 chairs and sits them down. He obviously he can't move what it serves as the tub, probably, because it's probably too heavy.
Yeah, it's one of
but
those
he,
old style big like porcelain tubs.
Yeah, and then he
Porcelain, whatever that, ceramic, I think is what it was.
he brings up hot water, and he starts putting on the steamer, and he looks at the mirror, and he rearranges the mirror to where it's sitting near enough the steamer to where it will collect steam on the surface of the mirror. And then he'll leave, and he'll come back with a bowl, like a big ceramic sort of bowl, and he has like a bag with some stuff in it. That he looks like he just like recently put stuff in it, and he'll set the bowl down. He'll close the door. And Carver's there, right, as well,
Yeah.
or he looks over at Mr. Carver. He's like, I have the impression that what we're going to focus on, Mr. Martin, is, I don't know if this is going to be successful, but there are many charlatans and for people who pose fortune tellers, things like that, they are quacks for the most part. They practice things, or they're largely based on showmanship and manipulating the senses of people. However, there are some things that are somewhat based in truth, although they would never realize it. You see, it is not the coin that this is well, this is important, but not in the way that you are thinking. It is not important to see. Everyone can see. It is, we have shut our minds to it. Sometimes it helps to have something that reminds us, that helps us focus. In the beginning, you will have you might want to use some things. What is important is that you are relearning how to think, not with your sight, or see not with what you are seeing, but see with what you are feeling. I know. It is.
I guess I'll understand once I start.
He pours the water into the bowl, and he sets it down on basically where the washstand would be, but so it's kind of up, and he puts the mirror back in front, which is now completely steamed over, and he's like, "Come here."
Steps over.
He sets. He actually takes out the needle. That was in the thing that he had pocketed that needle, and he takes out essentially like a little, like a, what looks like one of those little coasters, right? Like a coaster you set a tea thing on, like a paper. It looks like it's made out of some sort of wax paper, something that isn't. And he sets it into the water to where it floats, and you can see that it's water resistant. It's been, thickly coated with wax, or it's made out of vellum or some sort of waterproof sort of substance. And he's folded it in a sort of a boat, and he puts the needle in the center of it, and he takes just a spoon out from his pocket, and he's like, I want you now to look at the needle.
Martin looks down.
And he starts spinning the current to where it forms a sort of, what do they call
Whirlpool.
it? Whirlpool. It's like, now just focus on your breathing. Focus on how you feel right now.
Dizzy.
You find yourself losing sensation of what you're looking at. Maybe the vision is blurring.
Yeah.
Okay. Close your eyes and imagine the needle. And then lift your head. And he starts speaking in a very rhythmic, sort of like trance-like voice as he's instructing Martin. And he has him lift his head.
Martin very dutifully follows the instructions.
And he starts talking about, like, focus on your breathing, clearing your mind, your breath in and out, and and then stop, and then getting him to a point where he's not necessarily talking anymore, and then he speaks very quietly and very softly. Open your eyes, look at the mirror, and imagine the needle. Now reach your hand out. Put it against the mirror. Don't move it.
He reaches out and puts a hand on the mirror.
And you see the needle where your head is. You see the shape as though the needle is blurring your shape of your head, person.
Uh-huh.
Now continue the spinning in your mind clear. And he goes back into that sort of rhythmic thing. Now move your hand and clear the steam.
Wipes his hand across the mirror. And with that, I would like to attune for the first time ever, because I have a dot of attune.
Sure, it is a desperate action with a weak effect.
Okay.
And Reaper, you have something?
I
have
have a 4. Oh, sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
I have something that I want to do while this is happening.
Okay, I'll come right back
So
to you.
after that. Mhm.
Yeah, sure. So you wipe the steam. The sensation of cold upon your hand from the steam now collected. There is a haze in the air sitting on your skin. Heat is resonating past you. There is a moment where you're listening to Blinder talk, and it's sort of becoming noise. It's sort of falling into the background. And then you keep hearing him talk. What he's saying isn't making sense anymore. It's hushed whispers. It's echoing strangely. And as that happens, the voice starts to change. And there's this sudden realization, as though someone has hit you with a shock of cold water all at once. Your eyes open wide. You realize you're not listening to Blinder speak. He's completely silent, watching you. There's someone else talking to you, and they have been for some time. They're telling you the story of how they died, how they stood right where you are now. They bled in that tub. And you turn your head quickly as you see movement out of the corner of your eye, and there's a face looking at you. And then you snap out of the attunement. The fear and terrifying nature of what you saw so close to you, so real, so visceral, leaves you rattled.
Holy crap. What? That was... You were talking, and then didn't you stop talking, but you kept talking, and then there was a dude with a face telling me about how he died right here.
Yes, somebody was stabbed in that tub. They were killed. And what you were seeing was the memory. You did not have an interaction with the ghost necessarily. Like I said, they're remnants, things. They're not. But we all leave imprints, and those imprints live and speak in the other world. And that is what you saw. Every time you step over across that threshold, you will see pain, death, misery. But you will also see and gain knowledge. The technique doesn't matter. The needle, the bathtub, the bowl, the steam doesn't matter. What matters is that you use something to focus. The more you use it, the more you will be able to open. I was using this merely because I was deeply unsettled and in here and in here. So sometimes I use things like this to focus myself. They are meaningless. It does help. The more it seems to help sometimes attuning when you have something living, the blood, for instance. Yes, not necessary.
There's a moment where you're all sitting there, Martin, near the bath, and in the doorway, the door opens, or has been open for some time, and you see Mercy standing there staring at the three of you. You boys taking a bath together?
Yeah,
We are
it's
think-
date night.
You all
We're
said
starting
something
a-
different at the same time. I'm just going to take this as a weird moment and move along. Okay, she says, and then goes walking off. And I think right there, we'll presume that the conversation continues, and feel free to continue it in the future. But we will transition over to Reaper. Simultaneously, somewhere else in the pub, was it Reaper? Or in the hideaway in your room? Or where do we find Reaper?
Reaper went to the hideaway and then proceeded to her own room.
Okay.
The aim is that while they are distracted, she's going to take the manila envelope and she's going to bolt.
Okay.
She's going to go try to find the bill hooks.
Okay.
In Crow's.
So she's going to take out the secret canalway because they're all upstairs.
Yes.
So she pops out the secret canalway. Okay.
Right.
So she heads out the canalway. Where's she going from there? Like, is she
Um,
gonna go further into Dunzo, try to find a carriage? Is she gonna
yes.
eventually find a gondola? Like, is she
Which is quicker, a gondola or a carriage?
to Crow's Foot? Probably a gondola.
Okay, she'll grab a gondola.
Okay. So you'll eventually hail one down near the Silk Shore, etc. You head down to the bridge, cross the bridge. There's tons of gondolas near that area. You pay one, and on your way you go to Crow's Foot. You eventually find yourself. I presume you're returning to Candle Street where you had
Yes.
met Corin. Okay. You eventually find yourself at Candle Street. There is a dull light emanating from the windows. You can see that there are people inside. There's no one really outside. There is a little sign on the door that says closed. But there are lights on inside, further into the building.
Okay, I will walk on to the entrance and knock.
You walk up to the door and knock. The room and glass is somewhat steamy. You can tell that the warmth of the space and the warmth of outside versus the open door of the freezer you can sort of see beyond is putting a cold chill into the room and is causing a bit of steam. You see some shapes inside sort of moving around, and then one of them eventually walks up to the door, wipes away the steam, and looks at you. You hear them mumble something. You can't quite make out what is said, and then eventually you see Corin walk over.
Okay.
He
I'll wait till
opens
he
the
opens
door and walks outside, closing the door behind himself.
I've got what you asked for.
Not here.
I know.
Follow, he says, and then he sort of walks slowly around the building into the alleyway,
Okay, I'll
slips
follow him.
inside of a doorway to the building right next door and adjacent, and you see that it's an open warehouse. There are boxes and crates and things like that. It's obviously some sort of storage space that they either own, rent, or use. He brings you inside and shuts the big sliding door. He had a lantern in his hand, so it's not like dark or anything. And he, sets the lantern down and shuts the sliding door, and then sits on one of the crates. Where's the rest of your people?
They're taking baths.
Ah.
They
Makes
fell on
sense.
mud.
Sure.
Yeah.
Don't need the full group here to deliver, I
Right.
presume?
So she pulls it out of her. She's stuck it in the back of her pants, like between her shirt and her pants.
Sure.
And so she pulls out the envelope and hands it over.
Mm-hmm. Takes it and undoes the seal thing, opening it. Pulls out a few pages and looks through. Spends a few moments perusing. Slips them back in, closes it, and redoes the little rope thing. Sets it down in one of the crates. That was good work. And that was quick. I've heard some things about you, about your crew. It's hard to know what's bullshit and what's not. You guys covered your end. We're square. That's good information. I was going to mention this earlier, but I didn't. I've squared away your payment to the billhooks. This wasn't that. Aaron doesn't know that you're doing this for us. You're doing this for me. Your buddy Blinder said he understood why we were doing this. To get my dad out. Right, he mentioned that. Aaron doesn't want my dad getting back out. She wants the gang. And if I didn't make a move or do something, it's gonna mean the gang gets split. Blood in the streets. Erin's my aunt. She's Torval's sister. My dad's. That's why this is so messed up. My hope was that, if you guys could get the information and Burke would swing, that my dad would come back and we wouldn't have to do all this. So I hope you understand that I can't pay you the huge coffers the billhooks could, but I can pay you. I've already squared up what you owed to the billhooks. I told them you took a job for us, and then I had my boys handle it. So you guys are square.
Well played. So how about we call this a favor for a favor?
Sure, what do you want?
Nothing yet,
Future
but we might in the
favor.
future.
From me, right?
Yeah.
I could do that.
Okay.
I should probably get out of here, though, before people wonder where I went.
Yeah, that's fair. Good doing business with you.
Yeah. He reaches out his hand to shake yours.
Shakes his hand.
Picks up the papers and slides the door open.
And she leaves.
Okay. As Reaper finds themselves moving back through the streets on their way back to Dunslow, they're moving through Crowsfoot, and they hear someone call out to them from a carriage. It's not immediate. This is several moments later, 10, 15, 20 minutes later. Hear a voice, familiar voice, a female voice, call out to them from a carriage. Ross.
She'll look over.
The carriage will stop, and the door will open, and you'll see the same woman that you saw a few nights ago, Ramira, dressed to the nines, as though she's about to go to, the fanciest party of her life, kind of a thing. Her carriage is beautiful and ornate, like something royalty would ride in. The cabbie is not a cabbie normal. It's a obvious, like a consulate guard escort sort of thing. There's one driver, and there's one who you presume is like a bodyguard. He's carrying a weapon. He has a crossbow, a pistol on his hip. Somewhat militant dressed in a sense, but still very finely dressed. She calls out to you, and then you see her pop her hand out the window like she's trying to wave you, and the cabbie and whatnot slows down the carriage a short distance away from you. She opens the door and ushers
I'll
you.
go towards her. Yeah, I'll go with her.
Oh, come in, she says.
Thank you. What are you doing here?
I was in the area. I saw you. I thought I would say hello.
Oh, well, it's good to see you.
Yes, it's been, what, 2 nights? Almost in a
Yeah.
row now?
Yeah.
I hadn't seen you for so many years, and then here we are running to each other every day. Are you on your way somewhere?
I was on my way to meet some friends.
See. Well, did you want to join me, or do you have plans?
Where are you going?
I have a party I have to go to. Appearances and such.
And she looks off like she's thinking.
Do you not remember our
Party?
conversation the other night?
No.
I'm the deputy ambassador for the Aruvian consulate.
Can I go home and change?
I mean, we could just get you a dress. We did the same thing the other night. You preferred the suit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, let's do that.
Sure, yeah. You said you had a date you want that you wanted to
Oh,
bring?
they'll understand.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. Where's your friend Mercy? Was it? Did she want to join us?
Mercy? I don't know. She's back at home, but I can find out.
You told me you live somewhere in Dunslow. Were you joking?
No.
Oh, apologies. I didn't mean it offensively or anything. Did you do you want to go find her?
I will meet you.
No, I mean we can go find her.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Let's go do that.
Okay.
Okay.
So, moments pass. Eventually, for those of you up in the bathroom still, you look out the window and you see a beautiful carriage. Carver has seen carriages of this caliber before, historically, and recognizes a few of the symbols and iconography. He recognizes it as a Ruvian noble seals. It comes sort of jaunting up to the Pond Street pub area.
I'll be right back.
You see the door open and Reaper steps out. There's a beautiful woman behind her, dressed very, very nice in a beautiful red dress that's form-fitting. She has one of those like fur sort of things across her shoulders covering, you know. Yes, Blinder.
As we like see this, you know, they'll get out, and I'm gonna look over. It's like she pulls up in a carriage, and we're gonna be in the bathroom. Man, we really know how to have fun. Then he'll go about collecting the stuff in the back.
So Ramira does not get out of the carriage. She's like, "Oh, wait here," she says, staying inside the carriage. You head out inside. You see Mercy sitting at one of the tables.
Hey, Mercy. We have an invitation to the Eruvian embassy.
Why?
I don't know. Ramira said, let's go.
Ramira.
Yeah, I met her the other night. See the carriage?
She's here now. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. What's wrong?
I don't know if I want to go to that party. Can you just say I'm not feeling well?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Okay.
say I'm under the weather. I'm not feeling good.
Okay. I'll go get dressed.
Do you want me to send Malone with you? He'll probably already be there. Never mind.
Okay. So I'll go inside and get dressed. And then come back out and let Ramira know that Mercy ate something bad.
Oh, a little tummy stuff. Oh, don't tell me. Says Ramira. Carver, you had something.
In the meantime, while Reaper goes and gets dressed, Carver will kind of walk downstairs and outside, kind of watching, smoking a smoke and observing the finery of the carriage.
Mhm.
And when Reaper comes back out, he'll just comment, "Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not a great cook."
Do you guys feel like going to the Eruvian embassy? I don't think you're allowed.
If
I
you
don't
want to
know
bring
that.
guests, Ramirez says, we would have to change what they're wearing. And I'm sorry, we're going to get you something fresh. New looks every time I see you. That was the rule, remember?
Fair. Are you guys still in the bathroom aside from Carver?
I think me and Martin
We'll
are,
say
are
you at
still in the
one point
bathroom.
peek in there and there's like some bubbles going on, you know, or something.
Me and Martin are still in the bathroom.
I will walk to the bathroom and knock on the door. Are you guys decent in there?
As decent as we can be, I think.
So I'll open the door. I hate to interrupt this love fest. Very nice. But
You
Go
see, you see two chairs, or you see two chairs and like a bowl of water, and we're both sitting there staring at each other with steam going. And like I probably removed my jacket. It's very steamy and hot in here. I was like, yes.
so I have been invited to a party at the Aruvian Embassy, and I was wondering if you would like to join.
Under no.
Okay.
And considering there are people with my poster
Oh,
walking the streets, I figured probably not a good idea for me to go. But thank you for the invite.
well, I guess I will see you later.
Take care of yourself.
What?
Oh, that was actually the way he looked. Sorry, I just.
Yeah, I know. That's what she looked at him and said, "What?"
Who is inviting you to this?
Friend?
You have friends in the Aruvian, like.
So I had those shrooms and I went somewhere and we had a party and we had fun and I met people there.
Oh, I see. Okay. Be careful and try to stay cognizant this time.
No promises.
And I will not be joining you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Keep an eye out. Just keep an eye out for yourself, all right?
All right. So I'll walk out and walk up to Carver. Carver, did you want to join us?
Sure, why not?
Okay, but apparently you need to get all dressy.
Well, I don't have anything here.
Well, let's go get something.
Ramirez says, we'll get you something.
Whatever
And
was
he'll-
made for dinner made everybody sick.
I'm
The
a horrible cook.
the guard in the seat, the one holding the weapon, spent a long time looking at you, Carver. And as you approach, you can tell he's not a Ruvian. He's an Akros man. Both of them are Akros. They're not a Ruvian, like Ramira appears to be. He looks at you for a long while you're standing there smoking. And then as they start coming down, right before Reaper arrives again and asks you that question, the man, oh, actually, we'll say right after, as they're like getting inside, he looks over at you after, you're kind of deciding whether you're going to come and change. He's like, do you know Bastion? Oh, sorry, wrong guy. So you just had there's a look to you.
Must have been. Carver will absolutely avoid eye contact with the coach from there on out.
Okay. So, once again, as Reaper goes riding off in a carriage, this time with a different friend, Ramira, Carver joining with, they eventually find themselves at a private tailor shop, having their clothes changed quickly to something that becomes custom tailored to them, matching whatever color desires they might have at the moment. They eventually find themselves back in the carriage, slowly moving through the night market, and eventually heading to a very large, beautiful building. The lights are shining brightly from it. Music is pouring out of it. People in fine clothing are walking into and out of it, laughing in the courtyard surrounding this building. And I think that is where we will end tonight's game.